Thank you, Kenny. He's the bomb, isn't he? He's just awesome. We love him. And of course, Jim Weidman, he is just so wonderful. I love his phrases, I just love him. He is a classic. And the older I get and the more I'm around volunteers and leaders, the more I appreciate Brother Jim and the legacy that he has left in children's ministry. Well, today is your day. I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart that you would carve out this time. I realize it's Saturday. It's your day off, right? And there's a lot of you probably going to serve tomorrow, yes? Hands up if you're serving tomorrow. Oh, you guys. You are so amazing. You really are. Yeah, clap for yourselves. You deserve it for each other, yes. You deserve the raise, the cruise, the condo in Mexico. You deserve all of that. You really do, because I realized last Sunday was Easter, and I'm guessing you were really busy then, and a lot was going on. And then you have this today, and you made another opening in your schedule to be here. And I'm just so proud of you for wanting to learn and wanting to lead the way towards building faith in the next generation at your church, in your ministry. Now, I want to start by saying you are so much more important than you will ever imagine. I know it's like April now, right? Last time I checked, April. And about this time of the year, you feel a little crazy because you're like, wow, this is one long year. Am I still in toddlers? Yep, I'm still in toddlers. It's still going. We're still showing up on Sundays, and you sort of feel like, wow, this is a long year. I mean, seriously, we've had kids who've had the flu 3 times, and you've had it probably twice as a result of serving with them, and you kind of go, and still it's the same year, and we still have a ways to go, yes? Yeah, we still have a ways to go. And about this time, you can easily lose sight of the value that you bring in your ministry. Truth is, we cannot do ministry without you. I want you to read this quote out loud. Volunteers are not what? By very nature of definition of volunteer, you yourself do what you do for free. So let's just elevate you above any staff person we know, because we get paid to do what we do, so we ought to do a good job. But you don't get paid. You love for free. You love, you serve, you show up on your day off for free. Volunteers are not paid, and not because they are what? Worthless. I know some Sundays you walk out and the kids in your 9-year-old small group of boys, all they've done is made paper airplanes the whole time you're talking out of the activity papers that you passed out, and you're going, I don't know. Did something spiritual happen in that room? I don't know. Did anybody get shaped and guided morally? I don't know. I'm not really sure. Sometimes it's so elusive. You just go, I don't know. Did we do anything in that 3-year-old room other than wipe things? Clean things, clean up after them? It's so easy to feel like, well, no wonder they don't pay me for this job. I'm a volunteer, and wow, anybody can do what I am doing here. Anybody could do what I just did, because it wasn't, rocket science. And sometimes you leave on a Sunday going, I don't know, God, between you and me, you better be all over this, because I don't really know what happened in that room. Here's the thing. My job in this session is to remind you that you're not paid, and it's not because you're worthless. It's because we can't pay you enough to do what you're doing. What you do, how you serve, the contribution that you make, you guys, it's just priceless. Yeah, I know it's on commercials, but what you really do is priceless. Because here's the thing. We can change our curriculum upside down and all over the place, and we can continue to be relevant and engaging, and I believe we should knock that out of the park. But here's the thing. We can't really build faith in children without you. Now let me just say that again. We really can't build faith in children without you. I know the Bible's great. I know God is huge. We can't build faith in children without you. Let me give you a personal illustration just to kind of remind you of how it all starts. You see, I have a grandson. His name is Levi. This is him when he is 3. And he is as mischievous and curious and fun as his smile would reflect. He was in the back seat, and he was strapped in his car seat, and Holly, my daughter, was driving the minivan, and I was sitting next to her, and we were in conversation, and he was just looking out the window at stuff, and all of a sudden, he yells really loudly, "Hi, Mr. Michael! Hi! It's me! It's Levi!" And I look at Holly, and I'm like, do you know who Mr. Michael is? She goes, "No, I don't." And I said, okay, we looked over and we realized we're riding past the church where he attends, and he recognized the building, and he obviously wanted to yell out, shout out to somebody whose name was Mr. Michael. So we looked at each other, and at first we kind of got a little creepy, like, what? Because usually you kind of know the people that your kids just fall in love with, but we didn't. So I said, "Holly, do you think we should check this out?" She goes, "Most definitely." So she and her husband, John, they went the next Sunday. They followed Levi. He got checked in at the door, and then he ran to a person named Mr. Michael. And so Holly just kind of looked back and kind of observed and watched with new eyes because of his relationship with Mr. Michael. She wanted to know a little bit more about him. So she kind of watched. She stood back and just watched. And the first thing that they did was they played kickball together. He instantly got Levi involved in an activity, and he's kind of an active sort of a guy, and so he was just delighted. They were laughing and playing, and there was other little boys, and they were all gathered around Mr. Michael. And when she came out at that hour, at the end of the service, she says, "Oh, Mom, you got to see him for yourself. I can't even say." And I'm like, "You can't say because why? Why can't you say?" She goes, "Nope. Can't say, Mom. You got to see him for yourself." So the next Sunday, I took Levi, and I checked him in. And these wonderful ladies took him across the counter and checked him in and did all the administrative stuff to make it safe and secure, which we all love. And then I watched his little feet hit the floor, and he ran. And I watched him run straight to a 13-year-old kid. That's who Mr. Michael was. I'm like, oh my goodness. Here's this kid who's doing an amazing job of playing with Levi and these other little boys. They're playing inside kickball. And I thought, I just want to have a conversation with him. I just want to tell him what a great job he's doing and how much we appreciate it. So at the end of the hour, I came back, and I purposely waited so I could talk to Mr. Michael, and I just went up to him and said, "I'm Levi's grandma, and I just want you to know that in our family, you're a hero, and we are praying for you because we realize you are playing a very important role in our grandson's life." Now, Mr. Michael had no words for me, because have you ever had to have a conversation? Have you ever tried to have a conversation with someone 13? He's just looking at me like, "Dial it down, lady. I'm just playing kickball." It was not a profound, wonderful ministry moment like, whoa, not at all. But I still wanted to say the words to him because this is the truth. See, for the first couple years of Levi's life, we took him to church, and he only went because we made him. He cried through the whole first year. I'm sure the baby people still remember him. He's a vivacious little crier. I don't think he loved toddlers. I think he was a little mischievous with toddlers. I think he said no way too many times. I'm sure he tested their patience in toddlers. And through twos, and it wasn't until 3, everything changed. You see, everything changed in his whole spiritual journey because of a relationship. That's when he decided, I want to go to my church. And it was not because of the senior pastor, although he's amazing, he's wonderful. He didn't come back and say, I want to go to Wombaland because it's so amazing as far as the environment is concerned. There's a big slide. He didn't say any of that. What he yelled out the window was, "Hi, Mr. Michael, it's me, Levi." What I think is so fun about our preschoolers is, where do they think that Mr. Michael lives? All week long, he lives at the church. Because he doesn't know he goes home. He doesn't know he has another life. He just thinks he's hanging around all week long waiting for him to come. And if he just walked in that door, for sure he would be there. I love the fact that we get to, every single Sunday, take the words of Paul and really build faith in children by doing these two things. Can you read this with me, you guys, really loud? We what? We loved you so much that we were what? Say that word again. Delighted to share with you not only the... Stop right there. Most of us grew up thinking the gospel of God was all you needed. So we overachieve, worrying about the information. Do I know enough? Am I an expert enough? Am I spiritually grounded enough to be able to pass faith on to the next generation? I want you to just relax, okay? Curriculum is great. It's a tool. It's a tool in your hands, but we wanted to share with you the gospel of God, which is in the text, which is awesome. It is in the curriculum. It is the Bible story. That's important, but here's the next part, and this is where you play a huge role. Read it for me. But, say it again. But our lives as well. I meet a lot of volunteers these days who say, you know what? I love to share the gospel. I'd love to share the information about Jesus, but you know what? I'm not so good at sharing my life. And they don't want to show up regularly or consistently to be a Mr. Michael to someone. But here's the thing, you guys. Every single one of you is a Mr. Michael right now to some kid in your room. They're coming because they want to see you. They connect with you. You understood them. You got them. You gave them value, and they were so excited to see you. And it's really important that you continue to show up consistently, regularly, so that they get to know that you're there, and they get to know a little bit about you and your life and what Jesus looks like inside of you. Because we're going to share the gospel, because it is the power of God. That's true. But then we're going to also do it by walking through life with them, by sharing life with them, by having a relationship, by playing kickball if you're 3. Just those beginning faith steps. I want to talk to you about unpacking that verse, okay? So we're going to do 3 things to build faith in children that all have to do with you on a Sunday morning. First thing, we have to really work at giving our kids a great first impression, not only of their Heavenly Father and how amazing He is, but also that we're just delighted to see them. See, sometimes we want to get all busy with our activities, and so sometimes when the children walk in the room, we look like we are busy bees. We are getting everything set. We are making sure the tasks are done. We are making sure everyone's registered and attended for. But what we forget is to just stop and look in their eyes and be happy to see them. We need to stop and realize this might have been the week something blew up at home, and they've been waiting all week to see you because you're going to love them like only you can. They need to be able to run someplace, and they're running to you, whether they're 3 or 5 or 7 or 10, and they're waiting to say, please don't talk to me about the curriculum yet. Please don't worry about that. But first of all, be happy to see me. Look in my eyes and just relish the time that you have with me. Think of me as something special. So when you see me, you're so happy. It's like you're given a huge gift card to your favorite store every time that kid walks in. That's the look. That's the look that Jesus, I think, would have if He were greeting them. And actually what we're doing is we're just being Jesus to these little people with skin on so they can see Him in us. Here's the thing. It's important that we give them a first impression, that we are happy that they're there, that we're delighted that they came. In fact, we're delighted in who they are. And research shows us that unless a child feels accepted and known and safe, they will not what? Learn. Not maybe. They will not learn. There's a school social worker that I enjoy reading. Her name is Deborah Sugar. Take a look at this definition about emotional safety. Emotional safety, what it feels like to be valued for who you are. Being able to act, think, and feel without what? Fear. Think about a brand new kid. Just stop right there. Think about a brand new kid walking into our rooms. Someone who doesn't know all the songs. Someone who doesn't know all the motions. Someone that isn't a good memorizer and can't do the memory verse. Someone who has no idea who God is because she's never heard that word mentioned. Can they come in our environment and try activities I'm not good at, express my ideas without censoring them, display my feelings and have them respected? Can I question my leader without fear of being punished? It means being able to take risks and expose what I don't know. It means being valued for who I am, not what? How well I perform. It means that the leader is interested in me and my ideas and experiences. And you know what? We can always tell when someone is interested in who we are. And when that person is interested in us and our growth and our development, making sure we win, whether it's at school or a job, we always learn, we always grow, we always develop better. Can I give you another personal story, another illustration of what this looks like? This is my son Ryan when he was 6. Now, in kindergarten, he was an average kid. He liked kindergarten. He was excited about it, but not as excited as he was about going to first grade. Because in first grade, he knew from the older kids that you got recess. And you got recess for like 20 minutes a day, where you got to play on the really big equipment, and he was so pumped. So he went on the very first day of school, and he left so high. Great backpack, new haircut, shoes that lit up, when he was walking down the hall. I mean, he was stoked, you guys, about being in first grade. He left on a high note. He came back flat as a pancake. And I just thought, Second day, left high again, came back flat as a pancake. And I kept thinking, what is it that's so unusual? And when I would try to ask questions, open-ended questions like, so what was the best part of your day? Couldn't get anything. Couldn't figure it out. Didn't know what was happening. Thought it was so different because he's a very verbal kid and he wouldn't spill any information. Third week of school, he wakes up in the morning, Mom, I can't go to school. My tummy hurts really badly. Well, there were no symptoms. There was no fever, so what did I think? Manipulation. Hold the line. So I said, how about if you go to school and you see if over the time that you're there you feel better? And if by noon you do not feel better, honey, then go to the nurse and tell her to call your mommy and I'll come and get you. 11:58, I'm in my office at Willow Creek Community Church, and the phone rings, and guess who it was? Hello, it's the school nurse. Ryan was sick and he needed to come home. No symptoms, no fever, nothing to explain it. So now I said, okay, this has gone far enough. I don't get this. This is not right. So what I did was I made an appointment that day to go after school to talk to the teacher. And so when I got there, she was very nice, very pleasant, and she said, please sit down and let's just chat. And I said, you know what, Mrs. So-and-so, I just want to ask you how Ryan is doing in school. Can you give me a picture of what you see every day? Because I'm just noticing some different behavior at home. And she said, I can't think of anything, Sue, that's a high or a low. I just want you to know he really struggles. He's not a very good printer. He has trouble making his letters. And I said, oh, okay, well, I thought that's why we went to first grade, but if we were already supposed to have that in summer school, then we'll get right on it, and we can work on the letters at night. Man, I can do that. Letters, no problemo, done. I said, are you sure it's not something at lunch or recess? He's having trouble with a friend. Anything else? Nope, gets along fine, Sue. Okay, I said, then I'm just going to take a stab at something. I don't think that Ryan thinks that you like him. Well, I would like him a lot better if he knew how to print his letters. In my mind, I'm thinking, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to take you out. mess with my kid, you nuts. And this is in my inside head, right? Not outside. And I'm just thinking, oh dear, now I'm the children's ministry director down the street at the big church, and I probably shouldn't kill the teacher. That would not look good in the headlines. You know what I'm saying? It's probably not going to go well. I couldn't believe this. I just was like so stunned. I go, well, okay, if you can't really praise him for like what he's doing with his letters, maybe you could just say something nice to him about his shoes. He's excited about his shoes, or he's spending 5 minutes putting gel in his hair in the morning, and that's new for him. Compliment him on something else, because I promise you, he works better for praise than he does for negativity. Just encourage him and see if he doesn't get over the hump. And she looked at me and she said, that's really not my job. That's your job at home. My job is to teach him. I tried to get him switched, and I couldn't. All the other classes were full. And here's the thing. He had a bad first grade year. Not horrible. He didn't become a kid who sold drugs on the corner. Nothing like that. He was just struggling, because every day he knew that lady did not like him, and he really struggled to learn zip. He would come home and he was just so lost academically. And we tried as much as we could to encourage and to motivate and to inspire and to keep with him and saying, you're an amazing kid, and nobody is going to take that away from you. You look me in the eyes, you are an amazing kid, and you are going to get this school thing, and you can do this. You can. Okay. I just want you to know that he was looking for something simple, you guys. It was simple, just like the kids who are coming to your group. First, they want to know, do you care about me? Like, show me that you care. Like, take a look at these. These are such easy things. All of us can do them. Before we open up and do anything else with our kids on a Sunday morning, can we make sure that we remember their names? Think about whose birthday it is. Look in their eyes when you're talking to them. Get down on their level. Look a 9-year-old right in the eyes. Don't be texting. Turn that off. Disengage from whatever it is that you're holding on to, and just really look in their eyes and see what's going on with them. Notice when something's different. Notice when something feels or looks different on them. Share their excitement. When they're excited about, you know what, they come in and they're so vivacious, some of them. They skip in there like, we won! We are the champions! We are the champions, Mrs. Miller! I said, what did we win? And then they tell us this amazing story of what they won in their sports thing or whatever. It's so awesome to be able to be excited with them about what God is doing in them, through them. Even though they don't understand that we're trying to be Jesus all the time to them, I just want to give them 18 years of this, you guys. 18 years where we value, where we love, where we show up, where we share our lives with them, because we are delighted in who they are, knowing that they matter to our God. He made them and has a plan for them. We need to know all that in our head. But what we express to them, you matter to me, not because of what you can do, but because of who you are. And if you're not a great memorization person, then we'll figure out another way for you to succeed. If you're not great at singing, that's okay. Yancey told us it's okay. Make a joyful noise. It's okay. Sometimes Sunday school can be one more place to fail. And in a list of places where kids can go, this is just one more. Showing you care can be so simple, can be so free. It's not even money attached to it. It doesn't even have to have a big environment attached to it. It's free, and you get to do that. Second thing, I want us to remember that we have to motivate kids. Motivate me as a child to want to follow Jesus. And by that I'm saying, cause me. Use the verb cause me to want to know Jesus. The one that you guys are all excited about teaching like last weekend. Cause me to want to know the Jesus that you're so excited about by how you follow him, how you talk about him today. Like, what's he doing for you that's so great? Because here's the thing. In the world, it's like all of those people look happy and they're popular and they have fame and they have money and they have power. And our kids are exposed to that all week long. And it's so easy for them to want to be that because they have no other picture going up against this amazing one over here. This picture from the world looks like the most amazing adventure ever, with all kinds of popularity attached. And it's so easy as a kid to want that. I want us to paint them a picture by showing them that Jesus is the best thing that ever happened to you and me. I want us to show them. I want you to talk about it appropriately, not like a chatty Cathy. I'm talking about like when they look in your eyes during the activity time of your small group portion, I want you to say, you guys, I'm so glad we're talking about this because this is an awesome story. And you know what? It's important because this last week I struggled with this. Sometimes I tell Levi, you know what? Papa wanted a piece of my Easter egg, my really special chocolate Easter egg that I bought at the Kroger. And you know how Papa is. He likes to chew on chocolate, and then he wants all of it. Because he's a chocolate monster. We know that, Levi, right? So you know what I thought? I didn't want to share with Papa. And he looks at me with big eyes like, you didn't want to share with Papa? No, I didn't. I wanted to keep the egg all to myself, my very own Easter egg. And then I said, but you know what? Jesus wants me to be a good sharer. So what I did was I divided it in half, and I gave him the bigger half. I never say, you have to do it. I'm just guiding. I'm just modeling. I'm just letting him know as he grows up all along the way that Jesus is the best thing that ever happened to me. And I can't imagine doing life without him. He's the best thing when I'm scared. He's the best person to pray to. He's the very best person that when I'm really happy and excited, Jesus is happy and excited with me. I guess here's the thing. If we can't show our kids, you guys, that Jesus is the best thing that ever happened to us, why on earth would they ever want to grow up to be Christ followers? I mean, if Jesus doesn't look like that big of a deal to all of us, and if we just give them this picture like we're the grumpy people, we're the rule followers, we're the ones who just never have any fun, and sometimes we come across that way. We don't mean to, but sometimes that's the impression they get. Boy, that's the impression I had at my church. Woo! And I go, why on earth would they ever want to grow up to be like us? Because Jesus doesn't look so good until you and I, until we decide that we're just going to show them, regardless of what the lesson is that day, figure out a way to show them that Jesus is the best thing happening for you right now. We all have opportunities to talk about a Bible story. We talk about them in preschool. We talk about them in K through 5 and KidMin. We talk about those a lot. Sometimes I had volunteers who would say, Sue, if we have to tell the story of Noah one more time, I'm going to just poke my eyes out. I'm like, are you a little sick of Noah and the ark? Sue, I am so sick of Noah and the ark. Every year we tell it. I go, but here's the thing. I'm just going to ask you to go back to the story and look yourself for something new that you didn't know before, something full of wonder about our God. Because the God we serve is indescribable. He's beyond understanding. He's bigger than, stronger than, more amazing, more creative than. And when you look at every Bible story and you say, try to bubble that up. Try to figure out what it is for you right now. And apply that to the lesson so that you can still be excited. You're still learning. I'm still learning. We're not over Joshua and Jericho. The walls fell down, for crying out loud. The walls fell down, and all they did was shout. And they played their trumpets. I mean, seriously. Think of that as a movie. That would rock, you guys. It would just rock. It'd be such a great tension. Will the wall fall? They were doing such a weird thing. Can you imagine being them? You go, you've got to get into it again. You still have to be a contagious learner, excited about what we're teaching. Because these stories are still incredible. But sometimes we're the ones who say, okay, so we're doing Jonah, and we're doing the story about the big fish. And here's the thing, we got to get all the information, and we get all the things and all the dates right, and where they go. And they went to Tarshish, and then he did this, and then he did this, and he did this. And we sucked the wonder of the story right out. We got it done, check. We communicated the information, and they found it on the map. But they didn't internalize anything of the wow factor of why they care. Why do they care about it? I want to fast forward. My son struggled through school. I can't blame it all on first grade. It sure didn't help, though, and I kind of wonder what would have happened if first grade had gone differently. I kept praying. I was a classroom teacher for like 15 years in the school system, and I kept praying that he was going to get a teacher that was going to look past the C's on his report card and yank the best out of this kid. I was waiting for a contagious, excited teacher who would open up a book on any subject and turn the light on in my son's head, because I don't think he ever believed he could do school. So he underachieved all the way through high school. He did okay. Didn't get in trouble, didn't get thrown out, none of that. But it never was an amazing experience for him to ever learn. It just wasn't. For all those years, and I kept praying, my husband kept praying, God, please send us a teacher that will ring that kid's bell so he can figure out that he can do this. Well, my son went to college for like 7-8 years. You know what it is. How many of you have kids in college? Raise your hand. Yeah, we should have coffee. You know, it's supposed to be a 4-year program, but then there's the change of the mind and the change of the major, and then you're not really sure, and then it's 4 more classes, and then it's summer school, and it was all a good process. I have to say, it was long. Oh, it was so long. Oh, it was long. I felt like we paid for college our whole marriage, me and my husband. But you know what? He went to a Christian college, and he had great community. He made great Christian relationships and great friends. Big on friends, lots of friends. Are you getting it? Not so big on school, great friends. That was good. Went to another Christian school and had another great experience, and he got a whole nother experience that had to do with the community and taking Christ to the community, so that was good. Not so big on academics, though. Not so big on that. So I kept thinking, oh, man, when's he going to get a teacher that's going to ring this kid's bell? God, come on here. Help me out, would you? He decided that he was going to go to Georgia State, a state school. And, of course, he had been out a couple years because he went to Starbucks, and he really liked it, and he had a good time there. And then he decided, well, maybe I do want to go back to school. So I screamed in the bathroom for half an hour and then came out and said, that would be a great idea. Let's go to school. So he went to sign up for Georgia State, and he wanted to take astronomy, and I talked him out of it. I was like, oh, honey, I don't think astronomy is good. It's one of those courses you have to check off for your major, But I said, I'm not good at astronomy. Take biology instead. You know how you do that, and it makes no sense, because who cares if I'm good at it? I just was superimposing my will on him, and that was so dumb. So I was like, he said, Mom, I really want to take astronomy. So he did. And 2 weeks into the class, he started to care about astronomy, just a smidge. Not like an overnight transformation, big wow. But he started talking about it at dinner. Now, you guys, you have to remember that for like 24 years, we've never heard him talk about a subject at dinner, ever. Ever. So I almost dropped my chicken on the floor. I mean, it was like beyond words going, is he talking school? I looked at my husband, is he talking school? Well, he was. And a couple weeks later, he started bringing quizzes to the table, dinner table, to see how much my husband and I knew about astronomy. I did not know much, because I told you biology was my thing, not so big on stars. He was so excited about these quizzes he was taking. And I went, that's so interesting. I started to see him study. You guys, years went by. I've never seen this ever happen. Years. And then he started to get some A's on quizzes. And he got excited about it. And he started talking more and more, like we were studying at the dinner table. I didn't hear about a lot of other things, but I heard about astronomy most regularly. And like one time he said, Mom, we have a big midterm coming up. He says, and you better really review because you've been not doing so well on your quizzes. So I'm on airplanes now flying to different places to speak, and I'm cramming, how far away is this? How big is this? A galaxy for this? What do you call this? Because I was thinking, you do what you got to do to help a kid learn, right? And I wanted to cheer. So my husband, he was much better. He was skating through this whole class. I didn't know how he was doing it, but he did much better. Well, you know what? He got through the midterm, and he got an A. And it was like life just went into slow motion for me. As a parent, I kept thinking, I can't believe this is happening. He said, I got to study for this final. And when he finally got his final score, he said, you guys, you better sit down. And I thought, oh no, it's going to be a C after all. Oh, me of little faith. And he said, I got an A. And I said, I'm sorry, what? He says, I got an A. I'm bawling. I'm a wreck. I'm like, oh, there is a God in heaven. Oh, my heart. I can't believe it. This is awesome. And he was just like, there's something else you need to know, Mom. I said, yeah, what's that? He goes, I got straight A's this semester. In other subjects? School subjects? Not like lunch or PE or, like social media or something? Yeah. 2 years later, he graduated, and he didn't tell us until graduation day, right before we were going up to the stands at this amazing arena for Georgia State. They had this awesome facility. They rented the dome, and it was to die for good. They celebrated with fireworks and stuff. I was like, that's so awesome. Confetti dropped all over the dome. It was wonderful. But none of that compared to the fact that right before that, he texted us saying, oh yeah, by the way, I'm graduating summa cum laude. I'm going to kill this kid, Rick. I'm going to kill him. I'm not kidding him. He's costing me a heart attack. 5 years of my life just dropped right off in the bucket. You guys, I don't care about the grades. I could care less about the grades. I wanted him to learn that he could learn. He can do this thing. There are kids who are in your class right now who are struggling in school because they're not the best student, and they might not have a fantastic teacher, but you can be their best cheerleader. You can point out everything they're doing right. You have an hour on Sunday. You have an hour and a half on Sunday to reverse some of the damage that's happening in their world all week long. And I'm telling you, you have no idea the power that you have to make a difference. What you do is absolutely priceless in the lives of kids. We can't build faith without you, because if all we do is give them information, we teach them really well, but we don't disciple them. Because in order to disciple them, someone's got to walk along and go, good job, keep going. Little wrong turn there, watch out. God is bigger than that. I've had kids stand in the hallway and go, Mrs. Miller, I'm not speaking to God anymore. Okay, Michael, why? And he said, because we pray just like you guys said, and my grandma died anyways of cancer, and God didn't answer. I said, well, God did sort of answer. He just said no this time. Why do you think he might have said no? Where's your grandma today? And he's like, she's in heaven, but I'm so mad at God. I go, that's okay. He can take it. He sees you. He knows you. How about if we just keep showing up together on Sundays? Let's just keep showing up and keep talking to each other about it until it starts to feel a little bit better. Because maybe over time, it'll feel better. It'll start to hurt less. And we'll understand a little bit more. If not, we'll deal with it then. Let's just keep showing up. Let's just keep doing what we're doing, okay? Can we do that? We can do that. It wasn't the time to jam a Bible verse down his throat. It was the time to say, I'm with you, I'm for you, and sometimes life really does hurt really badly. And we can't fix all that. I can't, you can't. And for some reason, God has allowed this. I want us to have a real person who's going to stand next to these kids and put an arm on their shoulder and go, I know it hurts really badly right now, but let's just keep showing up. Let's just keep doing life together. Let's just see if it doesn't turn out differently down the road. When you stand there and you're holding a kid's heart whose parents got a divorce, and you're holding it in your hands during small group time, as they're sobbing, there are no words. There's the only thing that Jesus can do at that point. If he were standing right next to them, he would wrap his arms around them and he'd hang on tight, because his love is big enough. But see, these kids don't know that because it's such an abstract thought. They've got to see it through you. And when you show up, you're Jesus with skin onto them. And if you tell them it's going to be okay, they're going to trust you, and they're going to just watch you to see if they can trust that what you say is right. For 18 years, we got to keep showing up and saying to kids, you know what? I'm delighted you're in my small group. Not because of what you've done, but because of who you are. God sees you that way. I see you that way. I want to motivate you. I want to cause you to want to know Jesus, because I'm going to show him that he's the best thing that ever happened to me, and I'm going to show that to you every time we get together. Not in a preachy, fake way. My life is so great, so you should follow Jesus, because it's so simple for me. I'm going to be real to the point where it's appropriate. I'm going to show you that sometimes I struggle too. Sometimes I don't want to share. Sometimes I don't want to do everything right. I do it because it's a choice I make. And our kids need to know that it's a choice and that they can trust us with that choice. And then I want them to understand that once they follow Jesus, it's going to be the adventure of a lifetime, because they can be a world changer. There's a reason for them to be on this planet. There's a reason for them to be here. They're not an accident. They're not a mistake. They're going to lead something. They're going to change the world in some way, and their God is going to take them on an adventure that's going to make their hair fly. And we have to convince them that they can be a world changer at 3 and at 4 and at 7 and at 8 and at 10. We got to continue to let them serve, so that when they one day leave our ministry, we've given them opportunities to actually be the church, not just come to church. Because if we don't give them that opportunity while we have them, why on earth would we expect them to ever go out and serve when they're graduated? Mr. Michael's making a huge difference. I want our children to just know that it's normal to grow up and volunteer in a church. None of us are there to warm a bench. We are world changers, and we're starting with our own congregation in our body, and then we go out to the community, and we live as if we're going to change the world everywhere we go. I want to just stop. I want to ask you to just bow your heads. I want you to just tell God, thanks for the opportunity that you have the privilege to shape and mold and guide kids' spiritual journey every single week. You get to. You don't have to. You get to. I want you to tell him thank you for the priceless opportunity that you have every single week, and ask him to use you the most he can in these kids' lives. Use you the most he can this year in these kids' lives, however he wants to do it. God, I just want to lift up these volunteers to you and say thank you for every one of them. Thank you for who they are. Thank you for the people that built into them so that they are sitting here right now, wanting to serve and build into kids with the greatest message on planet Earth today. I pray that you will give them what they need. For those who are tired, God, supernaturally refresh them and energize them today. Remind them that even though they feel crazy some Sunday mornings, God, what they're doing is priceless in the lives of the children they serve. Give them words to say when they're out of them. Give them creativity to hold their attention when they feel like they're lost. Give them patience for the kids who try your last nerve. And God, continue to give us a picture that one day, the true end, is that we want these children, God, we ask that these children would be in heaven one day. It would be filled with the children that we've served in our classes. And we'll be careful to give you all the credit and all the glory, because you're the one who deserves it all, Jesus. In your name I pray. Amen.
Let's give Sue a big hand. You want to do a couple questions real quick? Come on up. So what we want to actually give you an opportunity to do is actually is ask Sue some questions. And I know she shared a lot of really great concepts, some things stretching our thinking a little bit. We have a number on the screen, 512-380-1556. If you got a question that you want to ask Sue, even more specifically about what she just shared about with making a difference in volunteers and the way that you volunteer and the way you serve, just text a question into that, and we'll ask that. I've invited Craig to come up and kind of get things started to help with this Q&A. So go ahead.
Absolutely. Sue, I just want to say on behalf of everyone here, first of all, thank you so much. You are such a champion for ministry to kids.
Oh, thank
you. You've made a huge difference. So thank you for what you've done. Thank you for your example to us. Give it up for Sue one more time. She's
my pleasure.
Wonderful.
My pleasure.
Wonderful. All right, so I don't know about your churches or your church, Sue.
Yeah.
But on many weekends in our church, believe it or not, there aren't many altar calls with the 1-year-olds or the two. Come on, kids, who wants to accept Jesus this week? You know, it just doesn't happen that way, developmentally speaking.
Yes, yes.
But even sometimes folks who are serving, they're being contagious like you talked about.
Yes.
They're believing they can change the world.
Yeah.
There are people who are coming in not with the 1-year-olds, but also with the 3rd graders and the 4th graders, and they're not seeing results, sometimes even over time. What would you say to encourage those folks?
I would just say it's normal. It's normal. And think back to your childhood. The people that impacted us, I think the most, Craig, are the people who loved us. I really can't remember any spectacular Bible moments in my church. I just know that people planted seeds in me, but I remember their faces. I kind of remember the people that really loved on me and showed up for me. And I would just say, we have to look at the end in mind, I guess. We have to look at the end and keep believing that we're moving these kids towards that. It's like the biggest faith adventure ever for us, because we aren't going to see the end of the story for these kids. Some of the babies, they're at chapter 1. But you know what? We have to remember that there's going to be chapter 5, and on that chapter 5, they're going to come to know Jesus. And all we did was we put the spiritual foundation in place, and we trust God for the rest. And then it's 2s, and we give all that we have. We put all the seeds in place, all the spiritual foundation in place, and then we trust God for the next. And we have to continue to remind ourselves. Like when I feel crazy, volunteers have to come up and say, you know what, Miller? Read the last chapter, honey. We win. And you're like, that's like, you guys are the unsung heroes, because a lot of times you don't get to see rewards, during the time that you serve. But you just got to know that somebody made a contribution in your lives, and that is why you are sitting here right now. And our job is to pay it forward, knowing that we have eternity to sit there and say, didn't think that kid had made it. Wow, look, he's here.
Back to keeping the end in mind. And
Yes.
it's also helpful to remember that we're a part of a team. I love what you had to say there. So here is a question from our audience. You ready?
Cool.
Okay. How do we encourage our church members to volunteer in preschool?
Oh, our favorites. Oh my goodness. Keep telling stories about the difference that it makes when you have consistent volunteers. Because I think the children are the ones who know the difference. You can tell, like, when they come in and they know somebody, they're looking for a face. They're not looking for a lesson. They're looking for, like, who do I know? And they're waiting for someone to connect with them and value them. The reason we don't have maybe as many Mr. Michaels as we need is because we haven't told this story enough to make them understand that you're not wasting your time. I remember at Willow in the early days when I was first there, people used to call it like babysitting. Like on special weekends or special occasions, there'd be babysitting available. And I said, I'm sorry. Here's the thing. We are not ever babysitting ever in this church ever again. Ever, Bill. He's like, you feel strongly about it? I go, I mean, seriously, it makes my hair just want to fall out because it just makes us feel less than. I didn't leave the marketplace. You didn't give up your lives on a Saturday or a Sunday to do something that any idiot could do. We are participating in a mission. This is like the most important time to shape and mold these children spiritually. In the first 5 years, you learn more the first 5 years of your life than you ever do the rest of your life. So if you ask me where we should put our best people and our best budget, preschool, hugest demand, where we have it, and we have the hugest return on investment. So keep talking about investment, return on investment. Keep reminding them that these children are like sponges, where some of the people in the auditorium, not so spongy. I've seen them. You haven't stood up here and looked at them. When you look at preschoolers' faces, they ooh when the rainbow comes out, ooh, and you go, just beam me up right now. It's as good as it gets. At the end of the story, they're in awe and wonder. We just have to keep putting that message out there. We have to live it, embody it, walk around with it in those areas, believe it down to our toenails. That what we're doing, we're not babysitting anybody. We're shaping and molding the kids of the future.
I love it. This is going to also come to as a surprise to you.
Okay.
Believe it or not, here in Memphis, there are actually churches that have rooms of kids where all of the kids aren't perfectly behaved.
No way.
Yeah, there's a few teachers here who have had behavior issues with their kids.
Yes.
So
yes.
This is a question from the audience, okay? How do we get our hearts right with those kids, okay? Because I think we've all been there. There's some kids who test our patience. They're special.
Yes.
They're special kids,
yes.
And
Yes, they are very
how do
special.
we get our hearts right with God so that we can say, I want that kid for Jesus?
I think, for me, I have to just keep remembering the story of the lost sheep. I have to put a sheep's face on theirs in my mind. And I have to continue to pray for them, their family, because I think if I have trouble with this child for an hour, I can't imagine the stress and strain with these parents who are trying their very, very best to turn out a Christ follower. And then I have to say, Sue, you only have an hour. I mean, get over yourself, really. And I have to keep putting a sheep's face on that kid to say, that is a kid that if he was lost, she was lost in a briar patch, the shepherd would go and do whatever he had to do to get that kid with all their individual quirkiness and craziness and tantrumness or whatever. Jesus would go to whatever extent he had to, even to the point of giving his life for that sheep. And I have to keep praying for that sheep. I have to remember I'm a shepherd. I'm a shepherd. I'm a shepherd. I'm a shepherd. And usually the ones who are the most troublesome are the ones who need our love the most. Everybody everywhere can't wait for them to go home. And we only have them an hour a week. Just imagine in school what it feels like to be them. Because when they walk in the room, nobody cheers and nobody's happy. And the faces tell you the whole story. Okay, they're here again. Maybe it'll snow and he'll stay home. I mean, it's so human to feel that way, but you just think that kid, everywhere that kid goes, all that parent hears, all that kid hears is all the negatives. They did this wrong, they did this wrong. And those parents need you to love on them and partner the most because they're about ready to jump. So for me, it's a matter of, I just have to keep remembering to look at them and see them the way heaven sees them. Because when I'm looking at them in my world, they're just an inconvenience. Messing up my small group, messing them up. And I just go, Jesus, I just got to look at this kid and see them the way that you do. They might be 5 years away from settling down, and you're just part of the journey. But would it help you to know that they might be the pastor of the next local church and they might hit it out of the park? I mean, seriously, that's true. Usually those are the quirkiest, weirdest conglomerations. Headstrong, run outside of the lines. A lot of them are staff kids. I hate to say it, but it's true. And God wired them that way. He didn't like make an oops on them. So sometimes we're trying to take the wiggles out, and he goes, no. You don't know what I'm going to have that kid do. They need the wiggles because over here they're going to be a world changer. And I just have to keep running those scenes through my mind to say, God, help me to remember to see them the way you see them.
Sue, I really wish that we had so much more time to spend here together. We've had a lot of great questions, and hopefully folks will get the chance to interact with you as you're hanging out here.
Love
Thank
it.
you so much again. We've got one more I want to mention here. I think this is a really good one, actually. It's not so much a question. This comes from 706-593-1795. You know who you are out there. It says, no question, but I love the green jacket.
Oh, thank you, you guys. You're wonderful.
All right,
Give it up
let's
for
give Sue a big hand. Thank you, guys.
Wow.